Here's a few news stories that I thought were interesting. This one Irvin found that's pretty interesting. I knew that a lot of the really extreme stuff that sets Americans to hate other Americans is Russian attack on us. But these guys claim they proved that 19 out of 20 of the top Christian pages were run by Russians, trying to spread disunity here. With names like Be Happy, Enjoy Life, Speak Loudly, Purpose of Life, and so on. I know they impersonate a lot of supposed Black Lives Matter sites and everything else. Just anything where Americans are angry at other Americans, the Russians jump in to amplify it and make people more mad at each other because they think it is to their benefit to make us hate each other more. And certainly Americans are hating other Americans in groups a lot lately. So there are now bots that criminals can use to steal your one-time passwords. He mentions a few of them here. OTP Agency is one of them, and there are others, SMS Ranger and so on. So these are things that will spam people with messages to trick them into handing over the one-time password code, and I think use some other tricks. So it's only natural. Once people start using two-factor authentication, the criminals will have some way to attack it. So they warn you, of course, don't hand over your code to anybody. Nobody should ask for it. This one I saw several tweets about last night, and not much information had come out yet. There's a Russian cybersecurity firm that tracks down attacks and is well known for it. Group 1B, or Group IB or something, and they've arrested the leader and accused him of treason in Russia. So no real information has come out. He says he's innocent and denies it. So I don't know what we're going to find out here. I don't know what it means. I don't know what exactly they're accusing him of doing, but we may be hearing more about that. So Bitcoin miners have to find a lot of power somewhere because Bitcoin is still a proof of work protocol. Now, some of them, this is one huge thing people complain about Bitcoin, is it wastes an incredible amount of electricity, which it absolutely does. And Bitcoin advocates that are trying to push it and sell more tokens, of course, have been trying to claim that it's good for the environment somehow, that by creating demand they promote green energy or something, but that doesn't make any sense. And here's, this one's pretty impressive. There's a plant they were shutting down in Pennsylvania that was running some rotten kind of coal called coal waste. And they were going to close it down, but then they realized they could turn it back up to full speed and mine Bitcoin. And it puts out even more pollution than other coal. So that's one plant that's coming up just to mine Bitcoin and create as much pollution, much more pollution as a result. And now they're trying to find nuclear plants to use to make power to mine Bitcoins. So we'll see what comes of it all. But certainly, I mean, this is, if you are some kind of power plant, this is certainly one way to make money, would be to just run Bitcoin. Could you possibly explain one CPU, one vote in majority decisions? I don't know anything about that one CPU, one vote. The only two systems I know about for blockchains are proof of work, which Bitcoin uses, and proof of stake, which Cardano uses. And there, you move towards a normal bank. In a normal bank, there's one central repository that has all the money, and they make all the decisions. And this one, people put up some of their money, and they're betting their money on their integrity. I don't know one computer, one vote in blockchain. If you've got any links to it, put them up and let's see it. Bob Murray will be pleased to hear that. Well, okay, I don't know who Bob Murray is. Anyway, so you can get the Amazon Astro for $1,500. This little robot that will drive around and speak and spy on your family, and then apparently throw itself down the stairs and destroy. Coal miner CEO. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, yeah, well, yeah. Well, you know, this is actually all over the news these days, is because the Democrats are having this big fight with Joe Manchin, and people say he's in the pocket of big oil. But the thing is, who he meets with every week is Exxon, and Exxon was just taken over by environmentalists about a year ago. environmentalists staged a big coup, basically, and took over a good part of the board of Exxon, saying, you got to quit making fossil fuels, you have to pivot to clean energy. So we'll see what comes of it all. And that's what Joe Manchin says. He says, West Virginia has made its money from coal, but we know we have to stop doing that. And we're trying to pivot away from it. So anyway. So now when you make a cryptocurrency transaction, you specify, I want to move like 1 Ethereum, and so I'm going to put in like 1.01 Ethereum, and the rest is going to be like a transaction fee. But you arbitrarily put in whatever transaction fee you want to. You can put up a transaction with 0 transaction fee, and some miner might mine it, but they might not mine it. And so traditionally, it's whatever the market will bear. There comes a time when people have chosen what the typical transaction fee is, but somebody here put a $22 million transaction fee by mistake, by just misconfiguring their software somehow, and they just returned it. So that's pretty nice. That kind of reminds me of the person that stole $600 million and just gave it back. They treat this stuff like it's just fake money because it kind of is. Satoshi's white paper cites proof of work is essentially 1 CPU, 1 vote. Oh, 1 CPU, 1 vote. I misunderstood you. Yes, it doesn't mean 1 person, 1 vote. Yes, 1 CPU, 1 vote. So you need to get many cores. That's why you get... Yeah, actually, that I can explain. That's extremely simple. David Gerard had the best explanation of how mining works. It's just a lottery. You calculate a hash value, and that's like a lottery ticket. And you're trying to find a winning lottery ticket. The more hash values you calculate, the more lottery tickets you have, the more chance of winning the lottery. And there's 1 winner every 10 minutes. So, yes, so every core you have, that's the hash rate. How many hashes can you calculate per second? And you just get more and more computers and a big power plant and a big cooling system and special ASICs to be the fastest possible computer, and just make rooms full of these. So I see what you mean. Yeah, so a big Bitcoin mining station like the ones they're shutting down in China will have, millions of CPUs. And that's just millions of more lottery tickets per second. That's all it is. Good. That is essentially what it is. 1 CPU on 1 vote. All right, and this one here is talking about the close connection between cryptocurrency and the neo-Nazis. But basically, it applies to sex work and pretty much anything. Anything that you can't do with normal money that's somehow forbidden tends to be done with cryptocurrency. And a lot of the cryptocurrency people the original motivation for Bitcoin was basically a certain kind of naive libertarianism, where you think what we really should have is the gold standard, no government in our money and stuff like that. And that's the kind of philosophy, and it tends to go with other far-right stuff. This one I'd like to know more about. There's something called tokenization, which they say is better than encryption, but when they explain it, it sounds like it's just equal to encryption. So I haven't had time to research this and try to figure out what in the world they're talking about yet. But they say tokenization is where you take every letter in a message and replace it with another letter, and you have some kind of key, which sounds like a one-time pad, but they say it's different than encryption, and I don't get it. But anyway, they say it's the cat's meow, so I'm going to have to try and figure out what they're talking about, and if I can, I'll try to add it to this course, whatever this tokenization stuff is, and why it's different than encryption. So far, I don't really understand very much. And this is one that's been hitting the news quite a lot. An Ethereum developer was invited to go to North Korea to talk at a conference and give apparently a fairly ordinary talk about how you can do transactions on a blockchain and thus, of course, avoid all the law, including international sanctions and such. And they're punishing him for like treason or something. So it's Virgil Griffith. So it is not incredibly clear that he did something terribly wrong, but anyway. And exactly how you punish him reminds me a lot of Julian Assange. But they're trying to accuse him of conspiring to get around United States blockades. And the Splunk, Boss of the Sock, is another version that's coming up, so you can sign up and play that if you like. That's a good thing for the instant response class, not directly related to this cryptography. All right.